Welcome to Books Arena, the channel where we unlock the wisdom of life-changing books. In this video, we explore one of the most influential spiritual guides of our time. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This book has helped millions of people break free from anxiety, overthinking, and emotional suffering. It teaches a simple but profound truth that life only ever happens in the present moment. And yet, we spend most of our lives lost in thought, reliving the past or worrying about the future. Eckhart Tolle takes us on a journey inward. He shows us how to silence the voice in our head, how to find peace in stillness, and how to reconnect with who we truly are beyond thought, beyond identity, beyond time. You don't need religion or philosophy to feel this truth. All you need is to stop, to breathe, and to be fully here, now. So sit back, take a breath, and join us as we explore the power of now, one part at a time, and learn how to live a deeper, freer, more present life. Let's begin. Part 1, The Voice in Your Head, Escaping the Prison of the Mind. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, the sun is shining, the world is calm. But inside your head, it's chaos. You're not thinking about the trees or the warmth on your skin. You're thinking about that email you forgot to send, the thing you said 3 days ago, and the thing you're afraid might happen next week. It's like there's a voice in your head and it never stops talking. That voice. It's not you. That's one of the first truths Eckhart Tolle discovered in his own journey towards spiritual awakening, a moment that began not with joy, but with despair. He was 29 years old, living in deep depression, consumed by anxiety and suicidal thoughts. One night, in the middle of that pain, he had a strange realization. He thought, I can't live with myself anymore. And then it hit him. Wait a second. Who is this I, and who is the self I can't live with? That moment split his identity in two, and he saw it clearly. There's the voice. The chatter. The thinker. And then, there's the one who notices it. That noticing, that awareness was his breakthrough. From that day on, the constant mental noise faded away. He found peace. Not through doing more, but through being more. More still. More aware. More present. And now, in The Power of Now, he helps us see the same truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Let's bring it into a familiar story. Think of a time you were lying in bed, trying to sleep. But your mind wouldn't let you. It was going over everything from what someone said to what you should have said. From the bills you have to pay to the future you can't predict. You didn't ask for those thoughts. They just appeared one after another, like cars on a highway you didn't mean to enter. But here's the powerful shift. You are not the traffic. You are the sky above it. You can step back. Observe. Watch those thoughts go by without chasing them, without judging them, without getting pulled into them. That space between you and your thoughts? That's presence. And in that presence, there's peace. But why is it so hard to stay present? It's because we're addicted to the voice in our head. That voice the mind loves to stay busy. It loves problems. It loves replaying the past and predicting the future. It loves identity. It loves drama. It's always asking, who am I? And it answers with stories. I'm a successful person. I'm a failure. I'm someone who's always anxious. I'm someone who gets angry easily. I'm not lovable. I'm smarter than them. I'm not good enough. These stories become your identity. But here's the catch, they're not true. They're just thoughts that you've heard so many times, you started to believe them. Tolle calls this the ego, the false sense of self that lives in thought. And the ego's favorite thing? Time. It wants you trapped in the past, rethinking, regretting, replaying. Or trapped in the future, planning, fearing, needing. Why? Because if you were fully in the present moment, the ego wouldn't survive. Let's pause here. Take a breath. Right now, wherever you are, try this. Close your eyes and ask yourself. What's wrong with this exact moment right now? Not 10 minutes ago. Not next week. Just now. You'll likely find, there's nothing wrong. Your problems don't exist now. They exist in thought. And the more you live in thought, the more disconnected you are from life itself. You stop seeing. You stop hearing. You stop feeling. You become a walking mind, thinking your way through existence instead of living it. In one story from the book, Tolle meets a man who's deeply angry about everything. about his job, about his family, about the government. But as they talk, it becomes clear, the man isn't angry at the world. He's angry at the story his mind keeps repeating. He's not living in the world. He's living in his head. When Tal points this out, the man is silent. Something clicks. The anger fades. For a moment, the man looks lighter, like he just dropped a heavy weight he didn't even know he was carrying. And all he did was notice. That's the beginning of transformation. Not by fixing everything. Not by changing your whole life. But by noticing. Next time you're anxious, ask. Am I thinking about now? Or am I lost in past or future? Next time you feel restless, ask. Can I feel this moment instead of escaping it? Tal doesn't ask us to escape life. He asks us to enter it more fully. And that begins by questioning the voice in your head. So today, just for a few minutes, be still. Listen not to the noise of your thoughts but to the quiet space underneath. The now. That's where peace lives. That's where you truly live. Part 2, Living in the Now, the Doorway to Peace. Close your eyes for a moment and think about this question. Where do you spend most of your time? Not physically but mentally. Most of us live either in the past, or in the future. We're thinking about what went wrong, what we should have done differently, or what we hope will go right tomorrow. We replay old conversations. We imagine future problems. We chase success. We fear failure. We spend our entire lives somewhere else. But Eckhart Tolle offers a powerful truth. Nothing ever happened in the past, it happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in the now. The past and the future are only mental constructs. Memories. Projections. The only moment that actually exists is this one right now. Let's look at it through a real-world story. Imagine a woman named Mira. She's sitting at home on a Sunday evening. Everything around her is calm. Her family is safe. Dinner is cooking. There's no crisis. But inside her mind, it's anything but peaceful. She's thinking about a presentation at work on Monday. She's imagining what could go wrong. What if she forgets a slide? What if someone asks a question she can't answer? What if her boss isn't impressed? Even though the present moment is calm and safe, she's mentally living in a future that hasn't happened. And her body responds as if it's real. Her heart races, her stomach tightens, and her breath becomes shallow. That's the power of the mind to take you out of now, and into imagined fear. But here's the truth Tolle emphasizes again and again. The future only exists in your thoughts. It's never actually here. So, what if Mira paused? What if she brought her attention back to now? She might feel the warmth of the room, the quiet hum of her surroundings, the rhythm of her breathing. She would return to reality, not the future in her head, but the life in her body. And in that return, there is peace. We're not saying the past and future are useless. They serve a purpose. You can learn from the past. You can plan for the future. But if you live there constantly, you miss life itself. Because life only ever happens now. Let's imagine another person, Arjun, a young man who's recently gone through a breakup. His days are filled with if only thoughts. If only I hadn't said that. If only we had taken that trip. If only she'd given me one more chance. He's stuck in the past not because it's still happening, but because his mind keeps reviving it. The pain feels fresh, but it's the memory that hurts, not the moment. Tolle teaches us this simple truth. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Pain happens, loss, change, grief. But suffering comes when we resist the present and cling to what was. If Arjun could just sit, breathe, and accept this moment, not the story, but the moment, he might find something surprising. He's still here. He's still breathing. He's still alive. And there's peace in that. So how do we live in the now more often? Tolle offers simple practices. Nothing mystical. No rituals. Just awareness. 1. Pay attention to your body. Feel your hands from the inside. Notice the sensation of your feet on the floor. These are anchors to the now. 2. Use your breath. Take a conscious breath. Then another. Feel it fully, the air entering, the chest rising, the exhale softening you. 3. Watch your thoughts without following them. You are not your thoughts. When one appears like I'll never succeed, just observe it. Don't resist. Don't argue. Just notice, and let it pass. This simple presence turns an ordinary moment into something alive. You might be washing dishes, but instead of rushing through it, try feeling the water, watching the soap, listening to the clinking of the plates. That's not just doing dishes. That's being alive. Now, this idea may sound small, but it's actually revolutionary. Because in presence, you reconnect with your true self, the self that exists beneath your roles, your story, and your thoughts. Toll says, when you make the present moment the focal point of your life, instead of the past and future, your ability to enjoy what you do, and with it, the quality of your life, increases dramatically. Let's take one last example. A young student is waiting for her exam results. She's checking her phone every 5 minutes. Her mind is full of fear. But what can she actually control in that moment? Nothing. The results don't exist yet. The only thing real is this moment. So what if she decided to breathe? To go for a walk? To feel her steps? To look at the sky? She can worry, or she can live. One creates stress. The other opens peace. Here's the core lesson of this part of the book. Yellow circle: the now is not just a moment in time. It's a doorway. A doorway out of fear. Out of anxiety. Out of regret. Yellow circle: you don't need to fix everything in your life to feel peace. You just need to arrive fully into the one place where peace is always available: this moment. Try it now. Take a breath. Feel the stillness under the noise. You're here. And right here, all is well. Part 3, the mind, the ego, and the illusion of identity. Let's begin with a simple question. Who are you? Not your name. Not your job. Not your age or your background. Who are you, really? It seems like an easy question. But when you go deep, it becomes confusing. Most people answer with something like, I'm a student. I'm a teacher. I'm a parent. I'm successful. I'm struggling. I'm someone who always overthinks. But here's what Eckhart Tolle wants us to see. These are just labels. Temporary roles. Thoughts. Stories. They are not who you truly are. To explain this, let's follow the story of Rishi, a man who had always defined himself by his achievements. From childhood, he was praised for being smart. In school, he topped every exam. At work, he climbed quickly, got the promotions, the salary, the respect. But one day, Rishi was let go. Budget cuts. Nothing personal. Still, it shattered him. He felt worthless. Lost. Even depressed. Why? Because his entire identity was built on success. And when that external label was removed, he felt like he no longer existed. That's the ego. The ego says, I am what I have. I am what I do. I am how people see me. But what happens when the job is gone? When people no longer admire you? When things don't go as planned? You suffer not because of the event, but because your sense of self was tied to something that was never truly you in the first place. Here's what Tolle explains. The ego is the mind-made self. It's not who you are. It's who you think you are. And the ego constantly needs validation. It wants to feel superior, or it fears being inferior. It feeds off comparison. It clings to the past and worries about the future because those are its fuel. But the ego can never truly rest. Even when things go well, it lives in fear of losing control, of being wrong, of fading away. It says things like, I'll be happy when I get this. I'll feel better if they apologize. I'll finally relax once I reach that goal. But here's the trap. It's never enough. Let's take another real-life example. Think of someone scrolling through social media. At first, it's just for fun. But then the ego kicks in. Look at how perfect their vacation looks. Why don't I travel more? They just bought a house. I'm still renting. They have so many followers. Do people even care about me? You were fine a minute ago. But now, your peace is gone. That's the ego hijacking your attention, pulling you out of presence and into insecurity. But remember, you are not your thoughts. You are not your comparison. You are not your story. You are the one who sees it all. Tolle teaches us something radical. If you can observe your thoughts, then you are not your thoughts. If you can witness the ego, the part of you that craves, fears, complains, or boasts, then that part is not the real you. You are the awareness behind it. You are the silent presence that watches. Here's a short exercise he recommends. Sit quietly for 1 minute. Close your eyes. And try to find the space between your thoughts. That quiet stillness. That's you. Not the words, not the images, not the inner voice. But the space that holds it all. Most people never meet themselves there. They're too busy chasing identity through the mind. But once you see it, everything changes. Let's go back to Rishi. After months of pain, something shifted. He was sitting at a park, just staring at the trees, too tired to think anymore. And then, for a moment, he felt still. He didn't feel like a failure. He didn't feel like anything at all. He just was. And in that moment, he was more at peace than he had been in years. Not because he got his job back, but because he let go of needing to be someone. He had touched his true self, the part beyond name, role, or status. That's the essence of presence. Tall reminds us. You find peace not by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but by realizing who you are at the deepest level. That realization doesn't come through thinking more. It comes through stillness. Through being. So here's the invitation for you today. Notice your ego. Watch it when it reacts, when it feels attacked, judged, or ignored. Notice how quickly it builds stories. They're disrespecting me. I deserve more than this. I always mess things up. Don't fight the thoughts. Don't suppress them. Just notice them. And in that noticing, there is space. And in that space, you return to the now. You return to yourself. Not the imagined self. Not the ego. But the real, unshakable presence that was always there underneath it all. Part 4, the power of acceptance, ending inner resistance. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic. It's raining. You're already late. The clock ticks. You tap the steering wheel. Your mind starts spinning. Why today? This always happens to me. Why can't people just drive properly? Sound familiar? That tension you feel isn't coming from the traffic. It's coming from within, from your resistance to what's happening. And this is what Eckhart Tolle teaches next. Suffering begins the moment we resist the present. Let that sink in. Pain is real. But suffering? That's the mind's refusal to accept reality as it is. Let's look at a story. Meet Priya. She's a writer. For years, she dreamed of publishing her first novel. She finally finished the manuscript and sent it to 10 publishers. She waited weeks. And the rejections came. One after another. No, thank you. Not the right fit. Best of luck. At first, she cried. Then she got angry. She told herself the system was unfair. That she wasn't lucky. That life was against her. She carried that storm inside her for weeks. Until one day, while walking alone, she heard something simple from a podcast. You don't have to like what's happening. But if you stop resisting it, you stop suffering. That hit her. She paused. Yes, she was rejected. It hurt. But the deeper pain came from fighting reality. She couldn't change the rejections. But she could choose how she met them. And with that, something softened. Here's the truth. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means saying yes to this moment as it is. You don't have to love the rain. You don't have to pretend rejection feels good. You just stop arguing with what already is. This creates space, a moment of stillness between what happens and how you react. That space is where peace lives. Tolle gives a powerful example. Imagine falling into quicksand. The more you fight it, the deeper you sink. But if you stay still, accept the situation, and stop panicking, you give yourself a chance to think clearly, to survive. Life is like that. When we resist, we sink. When we accept, we rise above. Let's meet another character, Kabir, a middle-aged man facing divorce. For months, he resisted it. This shouldn't be happening. We were happy once. I can't believe it's ending. He begged. He bargained. He fell into sadness, anger, blame. Until he read something in The Power of Now. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. It sounded strange at first. Why would anyone choose heartbreak? But the idea wasn't about pretending or forcing happiness. It was about not wasting energy fighting what's already here. So he tried it. He stopped running. He sat with his pain. He said, okay. This is happening. Let me be with it. And slowly, very slowly, a kind of peace returned. Not joy. Not yet. But peace, the quiet strength that comes when you stop arguing with life. So how can we use this in daily life? Tal shares a practice called inner surrender. Here's how it works. Pause and notice when you feel inner tension, frustration, anger, impatience. Ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? Then say silently, let it be. Let the traffic be. Let the delay be. Let the discomfort be. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. You can still improve things, make changes, move forward. But you do it without fighting what is already real. You shift from reaction to response. From chaos to clarity. Acceptance doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Because you stop wasting your energy wishing the moment were different and start living from the moment instead. Let's go back to Priya. After she accepted the rejections, something surprising happened. She wrote a new story, raw, honest, powerful. Not from bitterness, but from truth. She self-published it. People resonated with her voice. It started slow, but word spread. Eventually, a publisher reached out not because she begged, but because she let go. Her peace became her power. So here's the lesson for today. What you accept transforms. What you resist, persists. When you bring stillness to a storm, the storm begins to quiet. You begin to quiet. And from that silence, new answers come. Not from fear. Not from frustration. But from presence. Ask yourself now. What moment are you fighting today? What truth are you avoiding? Can you let it be just for now? You don't have to like it. You just have to stop resisting it. Try it. Take a breath. Let it be. Feel the space that opens. That's the power of acceptance. That's the doorway to peace. Part 5, Presence in Relationships, from reaction to real connection. Let's begin with a simple question. Why do most relationships start beautifully, and then slowly fall apart? In the beginning, everything feels light. There's laughter. Understanding. Kindness. But then over time friction creeps in. Small arguments grow. Distance begins. Resentment builds. What changed? Eckhart Tolle gives a profound answer. Most relationships are not based on being. They are based on the ego. That means they're built not from stillness, but from need. From fear. From wanting the other person to complete you. Let's take the story of Ananya and Raj. When they first met, they felt deeply connected. They'd talk for hours, finish each other's sentences, laugh at the same jokes. But after 2 years, it started to shift. Ananya felt Raj wasn't listening. Raj felt Ananya was too critical. They began to argue. Not about big things but about dishes, delays, forgotten texts. One night, Ananya asked, "Why do you always make me feel small?" Raj shot back, "Why are you always blaming me?" That night, they sat in silence. Both feeling unseen. Both lost in pain. So what happened? They both stopped being present. They were no longer listening. They were reacting from old wounds. They weren't speaking to each other, they were speaking to the past. Tolle explains this well. Most people don't enter a relationship as a whole, aware person. They enter with their emotional baggage, their past pain, their unmet needs, their silent expectations. And here's the trap. At first, the other person seems to meet all those needs. You feel alive around them. But over time, the illusion fades. Then the mind kicks in. They've changed. They don't care anymore. Why don't they make me happy like before? And so begins the blame, the defense, the emotional distance. Not because love is gone. But because presence is gone. Tolle says. Where there is no presence, the ego takes over the relationship. And the ego always wants to be right. To win. To protect itself. This turns relationships into battlegrounds, where love becomes conditional. But it doesn't have to be this way. Let's revisit Ananya and Raj. After months of stress, Ananya picked up the power of now. One night, she came across a line. Make it your practice to withdraw attention from the past and future when you are with someone. She paused. What if she could meet Raj without her story? Without the past disappointments, without the need to be right. Just one evening she tried. She sat with Raj, breathed deeply, and listened. Not to respond. Not to fix him. Just to be there fully present. Raj noticed it. Her eyes were softer. Her voice lower. She wasn't interrupting or reacting. He felt it too, and something shifted in him. That night, for the first time in months, they laughed again. Not because all the issues were gone, but because presence had returned. Here's what Tal teaches. Presence heals. Presence listens. Presence connects. It doesn't mean you agree with everything. It means you stop reacting and start being. You become the space in which your partner can unfold without fear of judgment. And this isn't just for romantic relationships. It's the same with your children. Your parents. Your colleagues. Your friends. When someone speaks, are you fully there? Or are you half in the past, half planning your response, maybe even checking your phone? Try this. Next time someone speaks to you, pause. Take a breath. Feel your body. Then just listen. Not just to their words but to their energy. Their emotion. Their presence. That kind of attention is rare. And deeply healing. Let's hear one more story. This time of Neil, a father of two. He was often busy, distracted, snapping at his kids without realizing. One day, his daughter asked, "Daddy, why don't you look at me when I talk?" That broke him. He realized he was always there but never really there. He started a simple practice from Tal's book. Whenever I'm with my kids, I will be fully present even for 5 minutes. He put away his phone. Sat with them. Looked into their eyes. They felt it. They smiled more. They opened up. Neil didn't have to say much. Just by being present he gave them something more powerful than advice or rewards. He gave them himself. So here's your invitation. Whatever relationship feels distant right now, try presence. Not more talking. Not more fixing. Just being. Be there. Fully. Watch what happens. You don't have to heal everything overnight. But every moment of presence is a moment of connection. And connection is where love begins again. Part 6, The Pain Body, Breaking Free from Emotional Suffering. There's a storm inside many of us. Not always loud, but always present. It shows up in moments we least expect: a sudden anger, an overwhelming sadness, a deep shame. Have you ever reacted in a way that surprised even you? Snapped at someone you love? Felt emotionally crushed over a small comment? Cried when you didn't know why? That, Eckhart Tolle says, is the pain body. A silent passenger inside you. A heavy, emotional shadow made up of old hurt, pain, trauma, both personal and collective. And in the power of now, he reveals something powerful. The pain body is a semi-autonomous energy form that lives within most people. It is an addiction to emotional pain. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Tara. Tara was cheerful on the outside. Always polite. Always smiling. But inside, she carried a hidden weight: years of criticism from her parents, a breakup that shattered her confidence, and unspoken sadness from her teenage years. She never talked about it. She thought it was just life. But sometimes, something would trigger her. If a friend ignored her message, she'd spiral. If someone disagreed with her, she'd feel deeply attacked. One night, she had an argument with her partner over something small: just forgotten groceries. But she exploded. Yelling. Crying. Saying things she didn't mean. And when it was over, she felt exhausted. Empty. Confused. Why do I feel this much pain, over so little? Because it wasn't just about groceries. It was the pain body, rising up to feed. Tal explains that the pain body is like an emotional parasite. It feeds on drama, conflict, and suffering. It loves when you argue. It loves when you replay old hurts. It loves being a victim. And when something triggers it, it takes over. You're no longer reacting to the moment. You're reacting from every unhealed moment in your past. But here's the good news. You are not the pain body. Just like you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotional pain. You are the one who can witness it. And the moment you become aware of it, it begins to lose power. Let's go back to Tara. After that painful night, she stumbled upon a video about the pain body. It felt like someone had described her life. She started noticing when it was active. She would pause and say to herself, "This feeling, this heaviness, it's not who I am. It's my pain body rising. Let me stay present." She stopped feeding it with more thoughts. Instead of fighting or judging herself, she watched it with stillness. And something beautiful began to happen. The pain didn't disappear overnight. But it stopped controlling her. She stopped acting from it. And over time, it grew quieter. Tal shares a key practice to deal with the pain body. 1. Become present. When emotional pain arises, don't run. Don't drown in thought. Just be still and feel. Notice where the pain lives, maybe in your chest, stomach, throat. Don't label it. Don't resist it. Just observe it with gentle attention. 2. Don't identify with it. Say silently, "This is the pain body. It is not me." This separates your awareness from the emotion. The more you watch it, the less it controls you. 3. Don't feed it. Avoid reacting, arguing, blaming, or telling mental stories. That's how the pain body feeds. Silence is your strength. Stillness is your power. Another powerful truth Tal shares. The pain body awakens when it matches a certain vibration in your environment. This is why certain people, places, or situations trigger us deeply. They stir our unresolved emotions and the pain body wakes up. But now, with awareness, you can break that cycle. You stop adding fuel. You stop reliving old wounds. You return to presence. Let's take a quick example from daily life. Say someone cuts you off in traffic. Your pain body might react instantly. How dare they? People are so rude. I always get disrespected. That emotional flood, anger, tension, a pounding heart, that's not really about the driver. It's about your old emotional patterns reactivating. But now you know. You take a breath. You feel the energy in your body. You watch it rise and fall. And that's it. You just saved yourself from hours of unnecessary suffering. One final story. An elderly man once told Tal, "I don't think I'll ever be free of my pain." Tal gently asked him, "Are you aware of your pain right now?" The man paused and said, "Yes." Then that awareness, Tal replied, is not pain. It is your liberation. And that's the gift. You don't have to fix the pain body. You just have to see it clearly and rest in the space that sees. That space is your true self. Timeless. Silent. Free. So here's your reflection today. What triggers you? What patterns return again and again? Can you meet them not with resistance but with awareness? Next time the pain body rises, try this. Pause. Feel. Name it gently, "This is pain." Then breathe, and just watch. You're not your story. You're not your wound. You are the presence beneath it all. And from that presence healing begins. Part 7, Living in the Now, the Art of Everyday Awakening. Imagine this. You wake up. No rush. No anxiety. Just the sound of birds outside your window. The feeling of breath rising and falling. The soft light filling the room. You don't immediately check your phone. You don't jump into yesterday or worry about tomorrow. You simply sit up, and feel present. This is the power of now. And in this final chapter, Eckhart Tolle invites us to do something most people forget to do. Not just understand presence, but live it. In small moments. In daily actions. In ordinary life. Let's meet Maya, a school teacher. Before discovering the power of now, her days looked like this. Wake up late. Rush to work. Complain about traffic. Feel tired before noon. Go home, scroll endlessly. Sleep with a heavy mind. She was always running but not sure where. Then one weekend, she stumbled upon the book in a cafe. The title drew her in. The words slowed her down. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. That one sentence made her pause. She began a simple experiment. Could she bring presence into just 1 hour of her day? She started small. At breakfast, instead of scrolling, she tasted. The toast. The warmth of her tea. The silence of the morning. Driving to work, she watched the trees pass. Listened to the hum of the engine. Felt her hands on the steering wheel. In class, she truly looked at her students, noticing their voices, their moods, their smiles. The miracle. Her stress softened. Her energy returned. Her days felt longer, fuller, calmer. Not because life changed. Because she did. She stopped resisting the moment. And began to live it. Tall says. The present moment is the field in which the game of life happens. It cannot happen anywhere else. We spend most of our lives missing the moment, chasing the next task, worrying about the next problem, replaying the last mistake. But what if the real beauty of life, the joy, the freedom, the peace was always right here? Not in the next vacation. Not in your future success. Not when everything is finally perfect. But in this breath. Right now. Let's explore some practical ways to live in the now. 1. Use everyday triggers as gateways to presence. Every time you hear a phone ring. Every time you touch a door handle. Every time you wash your hands. Pause. Take one deep breath. Feel your body. Notice where you are. These micro moments anchor you. 2. Bring presence into routine tasks. Washing dishes. Folding laundry. Walking the dog. Instead of rushing through them, slow down. Feel the soap on your hands. Listen to the sound of water. Watch your footsteps on the ground. These aren't chores. They're opportunities for stillness. 3. Listen without thinking. Next time someone speaks to you, don't prepare your reply. Don't analyze. Just listen. Fully. With your whole body. With no agenda. This is rare and deeply healing. For them. And for you. 4. Watch your thoughts like clouds. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky. Thoughts are just clouds passing through. When worry comes, don't fight it. When judgment arises, don't shame it. Just observe. Ah. A worried thought. I see you. And let it pass. This soft awareness is your freedom. Let's finish with one final story. Karen, a corporate executive, once told Tall. I feel like I'm always behind. Always trying to catch up. Tall asked, catch up to what? Karen paused. He didn't know. Just a lifelong feeling of rushing. Of not being where he was supposed to be. Tall smiled and said. You are where you're supposed to be now. Life is never not now. That hit Karen deeply. He began to slow down. To walk instead of rush. To breathe between meetings. To truly arrive in each moment. And the funny thing? His life didn't fall apart. It actually got better. He made clearer decisions. His team respected his calm energy. And he finally felt alive. So here's your invitation, dear listener. Don't turn the power of now into a theory. Let it become your way of being. You don't have to escape your life to find peace. You don't need to fix every problem to be whole. You just need to be here. Now. This moment is enough. You are enough. And when you meet life from this place, everything transforms. Not because the world changes. But because your awareness does. And that is the true power of now. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the power of now by Eckhart Tolle. If this message resonated with you, remember the wisdom isn't just in the book. It's in your next breath. It's in every moment you choose presence over distraction. Here at Books Arena, we bring life-changing ideas to life one story at a time. If you found value in this summary, don't forget to backhand index pointing right, like the video. Backhand index pointing right, share it with someone who needs it. Backhand index pointing right, and subscribe for more book summaries that open your mind and calm your soul. Let us know in the comments what part of the power of now touched you the most. Until next time, stay present. Stay curious. This is Books Arena, where every book opens a new world. Welcome to Books Arena, where we explore the wisdom hidden in the world's most powerful books. Today, we take a magical journey through The Alchemist, a story that has touched the hearts of millions across the world, written by Brazilian author Paulo Coelho. First published in 1988, The Alchemist is more than just a novel. It's a spiritual guide disguised as a simple tale, the story of a shepherd boy named Santiago who dreams of a treasure hidden far away in the Egyptian pyramids. But as we quickly learn, This story isn't really about gold or treasure at all. It's about destiny. About listening to your heart. About trusting the universe, even when the path seems unclear. It's about discovering your personal legend, a phrase Coelho uses to describe the unique purpose each of us is meant to fulfill. Through deserts and dreams, omens, and alchemy, Santiago's journey becomes a mirror for our own lives. Because deep down, we all carry dreams. But how many of us actually chase them? How many of us ignore the signs, stay comfortable, and silence that quiet voice within? That's where the alchemist speaks to something universal, something eternal. It reminds us that the journey matters just as much as the destination, and that when we truly want something, the entire universe conspires to help us achieve it. This summary will unfold in 7 parts, each exploring a different stage of Santiago's quest. From the green pastures of Spain to the vast silence of the desert, we'll follow his story and uncover the timeless lessons Coelho has hidden in every step. Whether you're seeking inspiration, meaning, or simply a good story well told, this journey is for you. So find a quiet space. Take a deep breath. And come along, as we begin The Alchemist, the story of following your dreams, and discovering who you truly are along the way. Part 1, Santiago and the Call to Adventure. Our story begins in the rolling hills of Andalusia, Spain, where we meet a young shepherd named Santiago. He's just a boy, with a worn jacket, a book in his bag, and a flock of sheep at his side. He sleeps under the stars and wanders with his animals from village to village, savoring the freedom of the open road and the simplicity of his life. But Santiago isn't an ordinary shepherd. He's curious, restless, dreaming of more. For several nights, he's had the same strange dream. A child appears and tells him to seek treasure near the Egyptian pyramids. The dream ends before Santiago can find the treasure, leaving him with a haunting sense of mystery. Confused but intrigued, Santiago visits a gypsy woman in a nearby town. She listens carefully, then tells him he must go to Egypt. That the treasure is real. That he will find it. Santiago is skeptical. Why should he believe in dreams? And yet, something inside him stirs. Later that day, he meets a mysterious old man in the town square. The man introduces himself as Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He seems to know everything about Santiago, even details the boy never shared. Melchizedek speaks of something Santiago has never heard before, his personal legend. According to the king, a personal legend is a person's true purpose in life. It's the thing you are meant to do, the dream placed in your heart since childhood. Everyone, when they are young, the king says, knows what their personal legend is. But as time passes, a mysterious force tries to convince them that it will be impossible to realize it. These forces are fear, doubt, routine, and the comfort of the known. Melchizedek warns that most people give up on their dreams. They trade purpose for security. But those who pursue their personal legend, he says, experience real joy, the kind that comes from fulfilling your destiny. The boy listens, torn between the life he knows and the treasure that might await. Before leaving, the king gives Santiago 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, which he says will help the boy read omens when he's uncertain. And so, with nothing but a dream, a few coins, and a heart full of hope, Santiago sells his sheep and sets out across the sea to Africa. The first step on his journey is not filled with magic or glory. Instead, Santiago arrives in the unfamiliar, chaotic streets of Tangier, Morocco, a land where he doesn't speak the language and knows no one. And within hours, he's robbed. Everything he had, his money, his confidence, even his belief in the journey, is stolen in an instant. Santiago is crushed. Alone. A stranger in a strange land. But here, Coelho plants the first major lesson of the book. The path to your dream is never easy. It begins with risk, sacrifice, and uncertainty. Dreams are not given, they must be earned. And yet, Santiago doesn't turn back. He doesn't curse the universe. Instead, he remembers something the old king told him: when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Santiago decides he will not give up. Not yet. He looks around. Observes. Adapts. And starts over. This first part of Santiago's journey mirrors the stage we all face when we decide to chase something bigger than ourselves. It's the leap of faith. The leaving behind. The moment of crossing the threshold. It's scary. And sometimes, we fall immediately. But Coelho wants us to know, that too is part of the path. The universe tests us. It asks, how badly do you really want this? For Santiago, the dream isn't just about gold anymore. It's about becoming the person who dares to follow a calling, no matter how far it takes him from home. In The Alchemist, this stage is rich with symbolism. The sheep represent comfort and routine, the safe life many settle for. The dream represents the unknown calling, the whisper we often ignore. Melchizedek represents divine guidance, a reminder that help appears when we commit. And the robbery? It's life's first test. A wake-up call. A chance to choose again. As Santiago stands alone in the foreign marketplace, he begins to understand something profound. Dreams come with a price. And still, he chooses to continue. The treasure is still far away. But something has already changed. He is no longer just a shepherd. He is a dreamer on a quest. And that, Coelho reminds us, is where every great journey begins. Part 2, Leaving Comfort Behind. After being robbed in the marketplace of Tangier, Santiago feels crushed. The treasure he came to find seems more distant than ever. He's in a foreign land with no money, no friends, and no way back home. For a moment, he almost convinces himself that his dream was foolish. That maybe he should return to being a shepherd in Spain, that safe, predictable life he once had. But something inside him shifts. He remembers the old king's words about omens, about personal legends, about how the universe helps those who are truly determined. He reminds himself, I can always go back to being a shepherd. I already know how to do that. But if I give up now, I'll never know what could have been. And so Santiago chooses to stay. He wanders into a crystal shop, simply hoping to earn a few coins to survive. The shop owner, an older man with tired eyes and a fragile faith in life, reluctantly agrees to let Santiago clean the dusty glass in the shop's display windows. Soon after, a miracle happens. Customers begin to return. Business improves. The old man is stunned not just at the money, but at the energy Santiago brings. And over the next few weeks, Santiago becomes more than an employee. He brings ideas, passion, and a vision for something better. He proposes putting tea in crystal glasses to attract more people. He helps reorganize the shop. And slowly, the place begins to thrive. Through this period, Santiago learns an important truth: even when your dream feels far away, every honest effort matters. Every job, every moment, every lesson has meaning, especially if it brings you closer to your purpose. But the crystal merchant teaches him another lesson too, a warning. The merchant confesses that he, too, once had a dream, to make a pilgrimage to Mecca. But he never pursued it. Not because he couldn't, but because he feared that achieving the dream would leave him with nothing left to live for. This moment is powerful. Because it reminds us that some people choose to live with unfulfilled dreams not because they failed, but because they never truly tried. They choose comfort over courage. Stability over soul. Fear over faith. Santiago listens. Reflects. He's earned enough money now to return to Spain and buy even more sheep than before. Life has offered him a chance to return to the familiar, stronger than before. But he asks himself, is that all I want? He realizes that even though he's comfortable now, even though he could live a good life here, something deep inside would always be unfinished. He would always wonder about the treasure. He would always wonder who he might have become. And so, Santiago makes another brave choice. He decides to leave the crystal shop, say goodbye to the safety he's built, and continue his journey across the desert in search of the treasure. This moment, this decision, is one of the most symbolic in the entire book. Because so many people stop here. After recovering from a fall, after rebuilding their lives, after getting comfortable again, they settle. But the alchemist tells us, don't stop in the middle. Just because you are no longer in pain doesn't mean you've reached your destination. Comfort is not always alignment. You may have outgrown the dream you once had, but that doesn't mean your new dream is any less valid. In fact, it's often the sign you're growing. Evolving. Getting closer. Santiago is no longer the naive boy who chased a treasure because of a dream. He's stronger now. Wiser. More grounded in reality, and yet, more attuned to faith and possibility. He has learned how to observe people. How to read omens. How to adapt. And above all, he has learned how to choose purpose over safety. As he prepares to cross the desert toward the Egyptian pyramids, Santiago joins a caravan traveling eastward. Along the way, he meets an Englishman who's studying the ancient art of alchemy. The Englishman tells him about the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life, and the idea that true alchemists can turn lead into gold. But Santiago senses that these ideas, while fascinating, are more than just formulas. They're metaphors. The journey to transform base metals into gold is really the journey to transform the self. And that's exactly what Santiago is doing. By choosing to leave comfort behind again not once, but twice, he is transforming himself into someone capable of finding the treasure, whatever that treasure may be. In this part of the story, Paulo Coelho shares two profound truths. Temporary comfort can be the most dangerous trap. Every challenge we face is preparing us for something greater. Santiago could have stopped many times. But each time, he asked himself, is this who I truly want to become? And with that clarity, he takes the next step. Not because he's sure of what lies ahead, but because he knows that to stop now would mean giving up on himself. Part 3, The Crystal Merchant and the Meaning of Waiting. As Santiago continues his journey toward the Egyptian pyramids, we're invited to pause and reflect on one of the most symbolic characters in The Alchemist, the crystal merchant. Although Santiago has already moved on from the crystal shop, what he learns from the old merchant continues to echo through his heart and mind. The merchant, after all, wasn't just a background character. He was a reflection of what happens when we put dreams on hold for too long. Let's return to that time briefly, the moment when Santiago first stepped into the crystal shop, dusty and hungry, after being robbed in Tangier. The shop was quiet. Customers were rare. And the merchant? He had settled into a rhythm of survival. He ran his shop every day not out of joy, but out of habit. But when Santiago offered to clean the dusty glass for a small coin, things began to change. The boy's energy, curiosity, and bold ideas gradually breathed life into the store. Business picked up. Customers returned. And with them, the merchant started to dream again, just a little. But when Santiago asked him why he'd never pursued his own dream, the dream of going to Mecca, the answer revealed something deep about the human spirit. The crystal merchant told Santiago that visiting Mecca had always been his life's goal. As a devout Muslim, the pilgrimage was not just a religious duty, it was a symbol of hope. Something to look forward to. Something that gave his life meaning. And yet, he'd never gone. Why? Because actually fulfilling the dream meant confronting the possibility that it might not live up to his expectations. What would he do afterward? What if he had nothing left to pursue? It was safer, he said, to live with the dream unfulfilled, to let it float in the distance like a mirage. A comfort. A reason to keep waking up, even if he never planned to act. This is a haunting truth, and one Coelho wants the reader to sit with. The crystal merchant represents the part of all of us that waits. That hesitates. That delays. We say, maybe next year, or when the time is right, or when I'm more ready. But years go by. And dreams, like fragile glass, begin to collect dust. The merchant also serves as a mirror for Santiago. In many ways, Santiago could have become him. After being robbed and finding work in the shop, Santiago had every excuse to give up on his personal legend. He had money again. Security. A routine. But he chose differently. And that's the difference between the dreamers who achieve something, and the dreamers who stay dreaming forever. It's not about luck. Or talent. It's about the courage to act before you feel ready. The lesson from the merchant's life is clear: waiting too long can turn dreams into regrets. In Santiago's journey, Coelho presents this challenge gently but powerfully. Will you be like the merchant, clinging to the idea of your dream, but never taking the risk to live it? Or will you be like Santiago, uncertain, scared, but moving anyway? The merchant respected Santiago's decision to continue his journey. In his heart, he may have even admired the boy. But he knew he would never do the same. As Santiago joins the caravan across the desert, he carries this lesson with him. He understands now that not everyone will pursue their personal legend. And that's okay. But he knows he must. Because dreams have a window. And if we ignore that window for too long, it closes. The desert caravan becomes another metaphor in Coelho's storytelling. As they move across the vast sands, Santiago listens. Watches. Learns. He realizes that life in the desert is all about attunement to silence, to signs, to change. The desert, like the pursuit of a dream, is unpredictable. Sandstorms come without warning. Camels die. The path is never straight. But those who survive are the ones who adapt, who observe, who trust their intuition. Santiago meets the Englishman during this journey, a man obsessed with the practice of alchemy. The Englishman speaks in terms of books, formulas, and intellectual pursuit. He's read deeply about the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. But Santiago notices something important: while the Englishman knows a lot, he doesn't really see. He's so focused on knowledge that he's missing the world around him. This contrast introduces a new idea: true wisdom doesn't come just from books. It comes from experience, intuition, and paying attention. The Englishman represents the mind, analytical, curious, searching. Santiago, on the other hand, is beginning to understand the heart, the omens, the language of the world. The deeper knowing that comes when we walk the path ourselves, not just read about it. By now, Santiago is changing. He's no longer the shepherd who doubted his dream. He's becoming someone who understands that everything, even pain, even setbacks, is part of the treasure. And this transformation isn't flashy. It's quiet, internal. Like alchemy itself, the art of turning something ordinary into something divine. Part 4, The Journey Through the Desert. As Santiago moves forward with the caravan across the vast Sahara Desert, the rhythm of the journey begins to take shape. The caravan is made up of many travelers, merchants, pilgrims, tribesmen, all heading toward distant lands, each carrying their own story and purpose. But in the desert, all stories are stripped down. Here, there are no distractions, no buildings, no city sounds, only sand, silence, and space. At first, Santiago feels like an outsider. Everything is unfamiliar. The days are scorching, the nights freezing. The wind howls across dunes like a whisper from the universe, and time itself feels different in the desert. But slowly, something begins to shift inside him. He learns to observe, to listen, to trust in the quiet. In the absence of noise, Santiago starts to notice the subtle signs around him: omens. The way a camel reacts, the direction the wind turns, the patterns in the stars. The desert, in its emptiness, teaches him the deepest form of communication, the language of the world. It's a language without words. It's felt, not spoken. It's understood not by the mind, but by the heart. As days pass, Santiago becomes aware that the journey itself is as important as the treasure he seeks. The desert, with its unforgiving terrain and hidden wisdom, becomes his teacher. And one of the most valuable lessons he learns is this: the journey will always test your spirit before it rewards you. Nothing truly worth having comes easily. The caravan's leader, a wise and silent man, explains a powerful truth to Santiago: when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better, too. This echoes what the old king had said earlier, that the entire universe conspires to help you when you follow your personal legend. But now, Santiago understands this not just in theory, but in experience. He sees how the desert forces people to face themselves. Some give up. Some turn back. But those who stay, those who push on through the heat, the fear, the discomfort, are transformed. Just like the alchemist transforms lead into gold, the desert transforms the seeker into someone worthy of the treasure. It is here in the desert that Santiago deepens his friendship with the Englishman. The Englishman, still buried in his books, speaks endlessly about alchemy, especially about the soul of the world, the force that connects all things. He tells Santiago about the idea that all things were once one. That the world's greatest truths are hidden in simplicity. And that alchemy is not just about turning metal into gold, it's about spiritual transformation. Santiago listens, but he also sees the difference in how they both learn. The Englishman seeks answers in books. Santiago seeks answers in the wind. And both paths have value, but Santiago feels drawn more and more toward the spiritual, toward the signs, the intuition, the sacred silence of the journey. One night, while resting beside the glowing embers of a campfire, Santiago looks up at the stars and feels deeply connected to something bigger. He doesn't know how or why, only that he is exactly where he's meant to be. He realizes that even though he doesn't know what lies ahead, he's no longer afraid. Because he's no longer alone. The soul of the world is with him. Guiding him. Shaping him. Preparing him. Soon, the caravan stops at a desert oasis, a lush paradise in the middle of the dry emptiness. It's a temporary resting place, but it feels magical after the endless sands. And here, something extraordinary happens. Santiago meets Fatima. A young desert woman with eyes full of mystery and soul. The moment he sees her, he knows, this is love. Not the fleeting kind. Not a crush or a fantasy. But true love, the kind that feels like destiny. Fatima is quiet, graceful, wise beyond her years. She lives in the oasis and understands the desert's ways. In their brief meetings, she and Santiago exchange few words, but everything important is said in silence. Their connection is instant. Real. Eternal. And Santiago faces a new kind of decision, the choice between love and his dream. For the first time, he wonders if staying might be better than going. After all, isn't love the greatest treasure of all? But Fatima says something powerful. Something that reveals her own wisdom. Go and pursue your dream. I am a woman of the desert. I will wait for you. True love never holds you back. This moment defines a deep truth: real love does not demand sacrifice of your soul. It supports your growth. It believes in your journey. So Santiago is reassured. His dream and his love are not in conflict. They are aligned. One is part of the other. And this too, is part of the journey, learning that dreams may evolve, but they always lead you toward more of yourself. More of your truth. More of your soul. At the oasis, Santiago also meets the alchemist, a mysterious figure who can sense the boy's destiny and power. The alchemist tells Santiago that he has already found part of his treasure: knowledge, growth, love, and awareness. But the final part still lies ahead, across the desert, near the Egyptian pyramids. And the next leg of the journey will test Santiago more than ever before. Part 5, The Alchemist's Teachings. The desert has tested Santiago's patience, strength, and courage, but now, it tests his faith. At the oasis, he meets a man unlike any other he's encountered on this journey, a mysterious figure cloaked in black, whose presence commands silence and respect. This man is known simply as the alchemist. The alchemist is no ordinary teacher. He doesn't lecture. He doesn't preach. He speaks only when necessary, and when he does, his words strike deep. Like arrows straight into the soul. He sees something in Santiago. Not just a boy chasing treasure, but a soul in transformation. And so, he offers Santiago a challenge to go beyond knowledge and beyond fear. To live the truths he's learned. To become not just someone who seeks treasure, but someone who embodies it. Santiago agrees to travel with the alchemist across the remaining desert, all the way to the Egyptian pyramids. As they ride together on horseback, the alchemist begins to guide Santiago not with instructions, but with questions. He teaches Santiago about the soul of the world, the spiritual force that connects all living things. He says, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It is your mission on earth. This is what the Englishman spoke of, but here, in the presence of the alchemist, Santiago doesn't just hear it. He begins to feel it. The alchemist also explains something even deeper: the journey isn't about finding something external. It's about awakening what already exists within. He says, listen to your heart. It knows all things, because it came from the soul of the world. At first, Santiago resists. His heart is restless. It fears pain. It worries about losing Fatima. It doubts the future. But the alchemist tells him, your heart is afraid of suffering. Teach it that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. And so, Santiago begins to do something rare in our noisy world. He listens. He learns that when he quiets the mind and opens the heart, the world speaks. Not in words, but in wind, in signs, in feelings, and this is the language of the world. One evening, as they camp under the stars, Santiago asks the alchemist, why do we have to listen to our hearts if they're so fearful? And the alchemist replies, because wherever your heart is, that is where you'll find your treasure. These are not just poetic words. They're instructions for living. Too often, people silence their hearts in favor of logic, fear, or comfort. But the alchemist insists, the heart is the map. And Santiago begins to trust his. Soon, danger arrives. As they cross deeper into the desert, they're captured by a tribal war party. Santiago is seen as a spy, and the alchemist offers to bargain for his life. He tells the soldiers that Santiago is no spy, he is an alchemist. And in 3 days, he will prove it by turning himself into the wind. This seems impossible. Even Santiago is stunned. But the alchemist remains calm and tells him, you already know how to do it. You just need to remember. In these 3 days, Santiago faces his greatest test. Not of strength. Not of knowledge. But of belief. Can he truly become one with the universe? Can he become the wind? On the 3rd day, Santiago climbs a cliff, stands before the tribal leaders, and opens his soul. He speaks to the desert, to the wind, to the sun, and finally, to the soul of the world. And then, it happens. The desert stirs. The wind rises. And suddenly, Santiago disappears into a swirling gust of sand, a miracle witnessed by warriors who know they've seen something divine. He has done it. Not through magic. But through faith, alignment, and transcendence. This is the moment Santiago becomes one with the world. And the message is clear: when you become one with your purpose, the universe moves through you. It's no longer about the treasure. It's about becoming the kind of person who can receive it. The tribal leaders let them go, in awe. The alchemist then takes Santiago to a monastery, where he demonstrates the final act of alchemy, turning lead into gold. He leaves some gold with the monks, gives some to Santiago, and reminds him of what matters most. And with that, the alchemist leaves his mission complete. But before parting, he tells Santiago one last truth: remember that wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. You have come so far, and the hardest part is over. But the real discovery is always made alone. Santiago is now alone again, but not afraid. He is not the shepherd boy who left Spain. He is not the broken traveler who cleaned crystal for coins. He is not the student who sat in the caravan watching stars. He is something more. He is one with the world. He rides onto the pyramids, ready to find the final clue to his treasure wherever it may lead. Part 6, The Treasure Within. After an extraordinary journey across deserts, through love, fear, transformation, and mystery, Santiago finally arrives at the place he had seen in his recurring dream, the majestic pyramids of Egypt. The golden sand stretches endlessly, and the pyramids rise like ancient monuments of time itself. Santiago falls to his knees, tears running down his face, not just because he made it, but because the journey has changed him so profoundly. He gazes at the pyramids with reverence. They stand before him not just as symbols of ancient civilizations, but as guardians of his dream, of the treasure he's been chasing across continents. At that moment, something stirs beneath the sand. Santiago begins to dig. Hour after hour, he digs with his bare hands, believing that the treasure lies beneath him, just as his dream had promised. His hands blister, the sun beats down, and exhaustion sets in. But his heart is filled with hope. And then, just as he begins to lose strength, a group of strangers approaches. They are thieves. They beat him, take the gold the alchemist had given him, and leave him broken in the sand. One of the thieves laughs and says, "You're such a fool. I had the same kind of dream once about a treasure buried beneath a sycamore tree in an abandoned church in Spain." And just like that, they vanish into the desert, unaware of what they've just revealed. Santiago lies there, bloodied and bruised but smiling. Because in that moment, he understands. The treasure is not here in Egypt. It was always back in Spain, beneath that very tree where he once had his dream, where he had slept with his sheep on a quiet night so long ago. This revelation would break most people. Imagine spending all that time, enduring all that pain, only to discover that what you were seeking had been at home all along. But Santiago is not broken. Because now, he understands the real secret. It was never just about the gold. It was about the journey. The transformation. The signs, the omens, the crystal shop, the love of Fatima, the lessons of the alchemist, the language of the world. Every single step had been necessary to awaken him. To prepare him. To turn him into the kind of person who could truly receive the treasure. This is one of the most profound truths in The Alchemist. Sometimes, life takes us far away just to bring us home again, wiser, deeper, and more awake. So Santiago returns to Spain. He walks once again through familiar landscapes, but nothing feels the same. Because he is not the same. He finds the ruined church where he had once slept as a shepherd. The sycamore tree is still there, rising through the stone floor. And he begins to dig. This time, with patience. With purpose. And then he finds it. An actual chest filled with gold, jewels, and ancient coins. A real treasure. But even as he stares at its brilliance, Santiago understands, the real treasure isn't what lies in the chest. It's what lies within him. Because along the way, he found things far more valuable. The strength to choose growth over comfort. The courage to keep going despite fear and failure. The love of a woman who believes in his destiny. And the wisdom to listen to the voice of the world, and more importantly, the voice within. The journey didn't just lead him to treasure, it turned him into treasure. As he looks to the horizon, Santiago smiles and whispers, "I'm coming, Fatima." Because now, he has everything. The treasure, the love, the truth. And most importantly, he has fulfilled his personal legend. The Alchemist ends not with a loud triumph, but with a quiet truth that echoes in the soul. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. But you must be willing to listen. To follow the signs. To endure the trials. To leave comfort behind. To believe. And in doing so, you may just discover, as Santiago did, that what you've been searching for has always been within you. That is the gold no one can steal. And that brings us to the end of The Alchemist, a tale that, on the surface, is about a boy chasing treasure. But at its heart, it's a story about you. It's about that dream you carry. That inner whisper that says, you were meant for something more. That restless feeling that refuses to be silenced. Through Santiago's journey, we learn that the path to our destiny isn't straight or easy. It's filled with doubt, detours, heartbreak, and uncertainty. But it's also filled with magic. With signs. With people who appear just when we need them. And moments of clarity that remind us we're not alone in this journey. The universe is always speaking to us. We just have to listen. The Alchemist teaches us that the treasure we seek often lies not at the destination, but in the becoming. In the transformation that happens along the way. In the courage it takes to leave comfort behind. In the love we discover, the faith we build, and the strength we uncover. So wherever you are in your journey right now, whether you're just beginning, lost in the desert, or standing before your own pyramid, remember this. Follow your personal legend. Trust your heart. And never stop believing that the world will rise to meet your dream. Thank you for listening to this audiobook-style summary of The Alchemist here on Books Arena. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect, do like, share, and subscribe for more powerful book journeys like this one. And as always, keep turning pages, keep chasing dreams, and remember, the treasure is already within you. Until next time. This is Books Arena. Most people aim too low in life. They set goals that are safe, comfortable, and realistic, believing that if they simply work hard enough, they will get by. But in the 10x rule, Grant Cardone shatters this mindset. He argues that to achieve extraordinary success, you must set targets that are 10 times bigger than what you think you want and take action that is 10 times greater than what you believe is necessary. This is not about working yourself to exhaustion for the sake of it. It is about rewriting your expectations for yourself, breaking through the limits you have unconsciously accepted, and playing the game at a level most people never even consider. The book shows that if you think small, you will act small, and your results will be small. But if you think 10x bigger and take 10x more action, you create momentum that makes success inevitable. Cardone draws from his own journey from being broke, addicted, and unemployed in his 20s, to building a multi-million-dollar business empire. He is not speaking as a theorist but as someone who has applied the 10x rule in every area of his life, from sales to business to personal growth. Through bold examples, raw truths, and unapologetic ambition, the 10x rule pushes you to stop settling, stop making excuses, and start multiplying your actions and expectations until your life matches the size of your potential. This is not a book for the faint of heart. It is a challenge to think bigger, act bolder, and never again allow average results to be your standard. Part 1, Thinking 10x Bigger. Imagine you are standing at the bottom of a mountain. You look up and see the peak high, sharp, and covered in clouds. Most people in this moment do not even think about climbing it. They set their sights lower, aiming for the small hill beside it. That hill is safe, manageable, and achievable without much risk. And so, they climb it, but when they reach the top, they realize it is nothing more than a bump in the landscape. Grant Cardone begins the 10x rule by saying this: the problem is not that you aim too high and miss, it is that you aim too low and hit. Most people's goals are set at the level they believe they can comfortably reach, and this is exactly why they remain in the realm of mediocrity. When you aim for something 10 times bigger than you think is possible, you begin to see the world differently. Let us say your goal is to earn $100,000 a year. Cardone says, multiply that goal by 10. Now you are aiming for $1 million. What happens? The actions you imagine taking shift dramatically. Instead of thinking about working a bit harder or finding a small side job, you start thinking about building a business, launching a high-value product, or scaling your efforts in ways you had never considered. The 10x rule forces you to step out of the comfortable zone and into the possibility zone. It is not just about the goal itself, it is about who you must become to achieve it. Aiming for 10x forces you to think creatively, push harder, and demand more from yourself than you ever have before. Cardone shares from his own life. In his 20s, he was broke, deep in debt, and stuck in a job he did not enjoy. His first goals were small: get out of debt, save a little money, and try not to lose his job. But when he discovered the idea of multiplying his goals by 10, everything changed. Instead of just trying to survive, he aimed to become the top salesperson in his company. Then, when he achieved that, he aimed to build his own business. Then, to make that business the most dominant in his industry. At every level, the 10x mindset pushed him into actions he would have never considered if he had been playing small. Think about this in your own life. Maybe you want to write a book. Most people aim to finish the manuscript in a year. A 10x goal? Write the book, launch it globally, sell 100,000 copies, and turn it into a speaking career. That kind of thinking changes the way you wake up in the morning. It makes you get out of bed earlier, plan with more intensity, and refuse distractions. One of the biggest mental shifts in the 10x rule is that bigger goals are actually easier to achieve than smaller ones. Why? Because small goals do not inspire you. They do not generate enough energy or excitement to keep you going when things get tough. Big goals, however, light a fire under you. They make you take massive action because the prize is worth it. Cardone also points out that aiming 10x higher protects you from one of the biggest threats to success: underestimating what it takes. Most people set a goal, take minimal action, and then are shocked when they do not get the results they expected. The truth is, almost every worthwhile achievement requires more effort, more time, and more persistence than you initially imagine. By aiming for 10x, you automatically prepare yourself to do more, expect more, and push harder. In a real-world example, Cardone recalls meeting entrepreneurs who said they wanted to double their income. He would ask them, why not multiply it by 10? At first, they laughed. Then they began to imagine the possibilities: bigger contracts, larger audiences, more impactful products. Soon, the conversations shifted from "I hope I can" to "here is how I will." The mental barrier is always the hardest part. We tell ourselves stories about what is realistic. The 10x rule dismantles this by showing that realistic is often just another word for average. If you are listening to this right now, think about your biggest goal. Then, multiply it by 10. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel impossible. That is the point. Discomfort is the signal that you are stepping into a higher level of thinking. Grant Cardone insists that you do not need to have all the answers before you commit to a 10x goal. The answers come when you start moving. Action creates clarity. When you commit to something massive, your brain starts searching for ways to make it happen. You talk to different people, read different books, and spot opportunities you would have overlooked before. Part 1 ends with this challenge: stop thinking in terms of what is probable and start thinking in terms of what is possible. Then, multiply it. 10 times the goal, 10 times the action. Because if you aim small, you risk living small, and that is the greatest loss of all. Part 2, taking massive action. Grant Cardone makes it clear, success is not reserved for the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. It belongs to those who take more action than anyone else. And not just a little more, 10 times more. This is what separates the winners from the dreamers. Imagine two people opening a coffee shop on the same street. The first owner invests in nice decor, a good coffee machine, and a few local ads. They hope word of mouth will bring in customers. The second owner? They do all of that, but also knock on doors in the neighborhood, partner with local businesses, run social media ads, host coffee tasting events, and even deliver free samples to nearby offices. Within months, the second coffee shop is thriving while the first struggles. The difference? Massive action. Most people underestimate how much effort success really takes. Cardone says that almost everyone falls into one of three categories when it comes to action. No action people who wait, hesitate, and let opportunities pass. Average action people who do just enough to get by. Massive action people who push far beyond what is comfortable, doing whatever it takes to achieve their goals. The 10x rule is about living in that third category. When you take massive action, you create momentum. Opportunities start finding you. People begin to notice. Your results compound because you are not just dabbling, you are dominating. Cardone himself used this approach early in his sales career. While his colleagues made a few calls a day, he made hundreds. While they left work at 5, he stayed until he had booked new meetings. This did not just make him a top performer, it made him impossible to ignore. He started receiving offers, invitations, and referrals that never would have come his way if he had acted like everyone else. Taking massive action does not mean you will never face failure. In fact, you might fail more often. But here is the key: when you are taking 10x the action, you give yourself 10x the chances to succeed. One failed sales call means nothing if you are making 100 calls a day. A rejected proposal is just a small bump when you have 10 more in motion. Think about the people who seem to get lucky. In reality, they are usually the ones taking the most action. The musician playing gigs every night eventually gets discovered. The entrepreneur pitching their product to everyone they meet eventually lands a big investor. Luck is just a byproduct of massive action. One of the common excuses people use is, "I am waiting for the right time." Cardone destroys this idea. The right time rarely comes. Conditions will never be perfect. If you wait until you feel ready, you will be waiting forever. Massive action means starting now, even if you do not have all the answers, even if you feel uncertain. Let us take an everyday example. Suppose you want to get in shape. Most people start by going to the gym twice a week. But massive action? That would mean overhauling your diet, exercising daily, hiring a coach, and tracking every meal and workout. The difference in results over 3 months would be dramatic. Massive action also forces you to face your limits. You will discover what you are capable of when you push yourself far beyond what you thought possible. It will be uncomfortable. It will challenge you. But it will also make you stronger, faster, and more resilient. Cardone says that the reason most people do not take massive action is fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish. But here is the truth: the pain of inaction is always greater in the long run. The regret of not trying, of wondering what if, lasts far longer than the sting of a failed attempt. One powerful example from Cardone's life was during a recession when most businesses were cutting back. Instead of retreating, he expanded. He made more calls, invested in more marketing, and pursued more deals than ever before. While competitors were shrinking, he was growing because massive action does not stop when times get tough, it doubles. The key takeaway from part 2 is this: stop operating at the level of effort that keeps you in the middle. The middle is crowded. The middle is noisy. If you want to stand out, dominate, and win, you must outwork, outthink, and outact everyone around you. 10 times the effort creates 10 times the opportunities, and those opportunities lead to extraordinary results. Massive action is not just a strategy, it is a lifestyle. Once you commit to it, you start seeing every day as a chance to advance your goals. Every conversation becomes an opportunity. Every setback becomes a lesson. And the more you act, the more the world opens up to you. Part 3: Overcoming average thinking. Average thinking is one of the biggest traps that keeps people stuck. Grant Cardone says that most of us are conditioned from an early age to think small. We are told not to get our hopes up, to be realistic, and to play it safe. While this might sound like good advice, it is actually the reason why so many people never achieve their full potential. Imagine you are at a swimming pool with 2 diving boards. One is short and low, just a few feet above the water. The other is tall and high, giving you a thrilling leap into the deep end. Most people choose the short board because it feels safer. They might even laugh at the person climbing the tall one, saying it is too risky. But here is the truth: the view from the top is better, the experience is greater, and the reward is worth it if you have the courage to climb. Cardone calls average thinking a silent killer of ambition. It does not stop you outright, it slowly convinces you that good enough is all you can expect. Average thinkers aim for average goals, take average action, and get average results. Look around in everyday life. You see it in the person who stays in a job they dislike because it pays the bills. You see it in the entrepreneur who never scales their business because what I have now is fine. You see it in the student who stops studying once they hit a passing grade. Average thinking is everywhere, and it is contagious. Cardone shares how this mindset nearly held him back. Early in his career, after achieving some success in sales, he started to relax. He was making enough money to live comfortably. He thought he had made it. But over time, that comfort started to shrink. Competition grew, his industry changed, and suddenly his enough was not enough anymore. That was when he realized, comfort is temporary, and average is dangerous. Overcoming average thinking requires a complete mental shift. Instead of asking, what is the least I can do to get by, you start asking, what is the most I can do to dominate? You stop comparing yourself to people doing worse than you, and start measuring yourself against the best in the world. Consider the example of sports. If a runner only trains enough to match the slowest person in the race, they will never win. But if they train to beat the fastest person, even if they fall short, they will still be far ahead of the average. This is how 10x thinking works. It pulls you so far above average that you become exceptional almost by default. Another danger of average thinking is that it breeds complacency. When you are satisfied with good enough, you stop learning, stop growing, and stop pushing. Cardone warns that this is when the world passes you by. Technology changes, markets shift, and competitors innovate. If you are standing still, you are actually falling behind. One powerful real-world example comes from the business world during the rise of online shopping. Many traditional retailers thought their existing stores and loyal customers would protect them. They kept doing what they had always done, operating on average effort. Meanwhile, companies like Amazon were thinking 10x bigger, building massive infrastructure, offering more products, and delivering faster. The result? The average thinkers struggled to survive, while the 10x thinkers dominated the market. Overcoming average thinking means refusing to accept limits that most people consider normal. It means questioning the idea of realistic goals. If someone tells you your dream is too big, Cardone says that is usually a sign you are on the right track. But it is not enough to just think bigger. You must also surround yourself with people who think bigger. If your circle is made up of average thinkers, they will pull you back to their level. You need to be around people who make you feel uncomfortable with how much they are achieving, people who challenge you to raise your standards. One strategy Cardone suggests is to always set goals that make you slightly nervous. If you write down a goal and it feels easy, you are thinking too small. If it makes you wonder, how in the world will I do this? That is where growth begins. Breaking free from average thinking also requires resilience. The moment you start aiming higher, you will face criticism. People will tell you to slow down, that you are working too hard, or that you are obsessed. Cardone's answer to this? Wear it like a badge of honor. Obsession is the fuel of the extraordinary. The main message of part 3 is simple but powerful: average is the enemy. If you want an exceptional life, you cannot think, act, or settle like everyone else. You must think 10x bigger, take 10x more action, and refuse to stop until you have created something far beyond average. Part 4, Fear as Fuel. Grant Cardone has a very different view of fear than most people. While most see fear as a stop sign, he sees it as a green light, a signal that you are heading in the right direction. Fear, he says, is not there to warn you to turn back, but to push you to step forward. Think about the first time you did something that scared you but ended up being worth it. Maybe it was speaking in front of a crowd, asking someone out on a date, or quitting a job to start your own business. In the moment, your heart raced, your palms sweated, and your mind told you 100 reasons to back down. But after you acted, you felt alive. You felt proud. You realized the fear was temporary, but the reward lasted. Cardone believes that if a goal does not scare you, it is probably too small. Fear shows you that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone, and that is exactly where growth happens. The problem is that most people let fear talk them out of action. They confuse discomfort with danger. Take the example of a young entrepreneur named Lisa. She had an idea for a mobile app that could help people save money on groceries. She loved the concept but was terrified to pitch it to investors. What if they laughed at her? What if they said no? For months, she avoided it, telling herself she would pitch when the time was right. But the truth was, she was waiting for the fear to go away and it never did. Eventually, she realized that the fear meant she was doing something important. She booked her first pitch meeting, stumbled through it nervously, and still got her first investor. Cardone himself says fear has been his constant companion, especially in big decisions. Whether it was buying his first property, starting a new company, or speaking to thousands of people, he never waited for the fear to disappear. Instead, he treated it like an indicator that he was on the path to something big. The 10x rule approach to fear is simple: acknowledge it, but act anyway. The more you act in the face of fear, the more resilient you become. Fear loses its control over you when it realizes you are not going to obey it. Another reason fear is valuable is that it sharpens your focus. When you are scared, your senses heighten, your attention sharpens, and you operate at a higher level. Cardone says this is why massive action often comes with moments of fear, because you are pushing into uncharted territory, and your body and mind are fully engaged. Consider the story of Elon Musk during the early days of SpaceX. The company faced multiple rocket failures, each costing millions of dollars. The pressure was enormous, the fear of losing everything was real, and the critics were loud. But Musk used that fear to double down, work longer hours, and push his team harder. That focus, born from fear, eventually led to the historic launch that made SpaceX a leader in the space industry. Fear can also reveal what you care about most. You do not feel fear about things that do not matter to you. If you are terrified of failing at a project, it means you value the outcome deeply. Cardone suggests using that as motivation instead of avoiding what scares you. Lean into it because it matters. Of course, fear can also disguise itself in more subtle ways. Sometimes it shows up as procrastination, making excuses, or endlessly preparing instead of acting. You might tell yourself you are researching or planning, but really you are avoiding. Cardone warns that the longer you delay, the stronger fear grows. The best way to weaken it is immediate action. One personal example he shares is how he used to fear making sales calls to high-profile clients. He would hesitate, worry about saying the wrong thing, or imagine being rejected. But then he started forcing himself to make those calls first thing in the morning, before he could overthink them. Over time, those calls became routine, and the fear faded. The truth is, fear never fully disappears when you are chasing big goals. But you can train yourself to see it differently. Instead of thinking, I am scared, so I should stop, you think, I am scared, so I must be doing something that matters. This mental shift turns fear from an obstacle into a tool. The more you face fear, the more it transforms into confidence. Every time you push through it, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought. That self-belief compounds, making you capable of even greater challenges in the future. Part 4's lesson is clear: do not wait for fear to vanish. It will not. Instead, use it as a compass pointing you toward growth. Let it energize you. Let it focus you. And most importantly, let it remind you that you are alive and moving towards something extraordinary. Part 5, Massive Action Mindset. Most people have goals. They write them down, think about them, maybe even tell friends or post them online. But then, they take average action and wonder why nothing changes. Grant Cardone's core message in the 10x rule is this: if you want extraordinary results, you must take massive action, far beyond what you think is necessary. Think about it like building a fire. If you light a match and toss in a few twigs, you might get a small flame for a few minutes, but it will quickly burn out. Massive action is like throwing in armloads of wood, fanning the flames, and keeping them roaring until the fire is unstoppable. Cardone identifies 4 degrees of action people take: doing nothing, retreating, taking normal action, and taking massive action. Most of the world operates in the third category. They take normal, reasonable steps. They do enough to move forward slightly, but not enough to make a real breakthrough. The rare few operate in the fourth category: massive action. These are the people who seem unstoppable, who keep pushing when others would rest, and who eventually achieve results that others call lucky. Consider the story of Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks. When Schultz first had the vision of bringing the Italian coffee house culture to America, most investors turned him down. It would have been easy to take that as a sign to scale back his dream. Instead, he doubled his efforts, pitching to more investors, refining his business plan, and pushing relentlessly. He took massive action, traveling, networking, and pouring his time and resources into the idea. The result? Starbucks became one of the most recognized brands in the world. Massive action is not just about working harder, it is about multiplying your effort in a focused direction. It means making more calls than you think are necessary, creating more content than you think you have time for, meeting more people than you feel comfortable with, and following up more times than seems polite. Cardone learned this lesson in real estate sales. Early in his career, he would call a few prospects each day and wait for responses. Results were slow, and income was inconsistent. Then he made a decision: he would 10x his effort. He increased his calls from a handful per day to dozens. He followed up aggressively, knocked on doors, and attended every networking event he could find. The result? His sales numbers skyrocketed, and he quickly became one of the top performers in his field. Massive action also requires a shift in how you see time. Most people overestimate how much time they have and underestimate how much effort is required. They think they can spread their action out and still get results. But Cardone argues that momentum is built through intense, concentrated effort. When you go all in for a period of time, you create a wave that can carry you forward far longer than slow, steady effort ever could. Think of athletes in training for the Olympics. They do not train a little each day for years and expect to win. They train at a high intensity, often multiple times a day, pushing themselves to the limit, because they know the competition is fierce and the margin for error is small. That is the massive action mindset in play. Another key point is that massive action forces you to get creative. When you commit to doing whatever it takes, you stop seeing obstacles as dead ends and start seeing them as puzzles to solve. If one path is blocked, you immediately look for another. This adaptability is one of the reasons massive action works. It keeps you moving forward no matter what. Take the example of Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She faced rejection after rejection from manufacturers who did not believe in her product. Instead of slowing down, she used massive action to find another way, calling hundreds of factories, refining her prototype, and pitching again and again. Eventually, she found a manufacturer who said yes, and Spanx went on to become a billion-dollar company. One common misunderstanding is that massive action will burn you out. Cardone argues that it is actually the opposite. The energy and results you get from massive action fuel you. When you are in motion, taking bold steps, and seeing progress, you feel more alive than when you are stuck in hesitation or average effort. Of course, massive action does not guarantee instant success. You will still face setbacks, failures, and resistance. But the sheer volume of effort increases your chances of breaking through. If you make one sales call and it fails, that is the end. If you make 50, at least a few will work out. It is a numbers game, and massive action tilts the odds in your favor. The massive action mindset also changes how others see you. People notice when someone is operating at a different level. Opportunities often flow to those who are visible, active, and persistent. Cardone says massive action makes you hard to ignore, and that alone opens doors that average action never could. Part 5's takeaway is straightforward but life-changing: decide what you want, and then take action at a level that feels extreme. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not worry about looking obsessive. In a world where most people are barely moving, massive action will set you apart and put you on a collision course with extraordinary success. Part 6, Obsession is your superpower. If you have ever been told, "You are too obsessed," Grant Cardone would probably tell you to take it as a compliment. In the 10x rule, he argues that obsession is not a flaw, it is the ultimate fuel for achieving extraordinary success. The truth is, every great accomplishment in history was driven by obsession. The Wright brothers were obsessed with building a machine that could fly. Steve Jobs was obsessed with creating beautiful, user-friendly technology. Serena Williams was obsessed with becoming the greatest tennis player in the world. None of them achieved greatness by being casual or balanced in their approach, they went all in. Cardone shares his own journey. Early in his career, he had been drifting. He was working in sales but not excelling. He would show up, do what was expected, and go home. His results were average, and his life reflected it. Then he made a decision: he would become obsessed with being the best in his field. That meant studying sales relentlessly, practicing every technique, tracking every call, and thinking about his craft all the time. People called him intense, even extreme. But within a few years, he had transformed himself into a top performer and was earning more than he ever imagined. Obsession works because it focuses your energy. Instead of spreading your attention across a dozen interests, you concentrate it on one mission. This concentration creates momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs. Take the example of Thomas Edison. He was not the first to work on the electric light bulb, but his obsession with improving it led to over 1,000 patents and eventually the creation of a commercially viable version. Edison's work ethic was legendary. He often worked through the night, testing idea after idea, failure after failure, until he succeeded. Without obsession, that level of persistence would be impossible. Of course, our culture often teaches us to avoid obsession. We are told to be realistic, well-rounded, and balanced. Cardone flips this on its head. He says that in a competitive world, the average approach is the fastest route to mediocrity. If you want to stand out, you have to be willing to do what most people are not, and that means embracing obsession. Some people fear that obsession will make them miserable, but Cardone says it is the opposite. When you are obsessed with something you love, the work energizes you. You wake up excited, you push through obstacles, and you keep going long after others have quit. Obsession can make the journey feel like play, even when it is demanding. A modern-day example is Elon Musk. Whether it is Tesla, SpaceX, or Neuralink, Musk is deeply involved in every detail, often working 80 to 100-hour weeks. Critics say he is too consumed by his work, but Musk sees his mission advancing sustainable energy and making humanity multiplanetary as worth the obsession. His intensity has allowed him to achieve things that entire industries once thought impossible. Cardone also points out that obsession creates mastery. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000-hour rule, the idea that mastery comes after thousands of hours of practice, is really about sustained obsession. You cannot put in that kind of time and attention unless you are deeply committed to your goal. But here is the important part: obsession alone is not enough. It must be paired with massive action. If you obsess over a goal but only think about it without acting, you are just daydreaming. True obsession drives you to take relentless action, constantly improving, refining, and pushing forward. One of Cardone's favorite strategies is to immerse himself completely in his field. He listens to industry podcasts, reads books, studies competitors, and talks to top performers. By surrounding himself with his mission from every angle, he keeps his obsession alive and his mind focused. He also warns about watering down your obsession to please others. When you go all in, some people will feel uncomfortable. They might accuse you of being extreme or unhealthy. That is because your intensity reminds them of their own lack of commitment. Cardone's advice: ignore them. The people who truly support you will understand that obsession is the price of greatness. There is a powerful example in the world of sports: Kobe Bryant. Known as the Black Mamba, Kobe's obsession with basketball was legendary. He would arrive at the gym before sunrise, train for hours, study game footage, and then train again. His teammates often said they could not match his work ethic. That obsession turned him into one of the greatest players in NBA history, with 5 championships to his name. Cardone says that if you want the kind of life most people only dream about, you have to be willing to commit at a level most people cannot imagine. That means giving yourself permission to become obsessed. Let your mission consume your thoughts, your time, and your energy. And here is the unexpected benefit: obsession inspires others. When people see you fully committed, they either want to join you or they respect your dedication. Your intensity can attract opportunities, partners, and resources that would never come to someone taking a casual approach. Part 6's message is clear: do not tone yourself down to fit in. In a world full of distractions, obsession is your superpower. Choose a mission that matters deeply to you, throw yourself into it completely, and refuse to apologize for caring that much. It is that kind of focus and drive that turns dreams into reality. Part 7: Fear, Risk, and the 10x Way. Grant Cardone says that if you are not feeling fear, you are not aiming high enough. Fear is not a signal to stop, it is proof that you are pushing beyond your comfort zone. In the 10x rule, he reframes fear as a compass: if something scares you, it is often the very thing you need to do. Think about it. The first time you spoke in public, you probably felt nervous. The first time you asked for a raise, your heart might have raced. The first time you invested in something big, you may have felt your stomach turn. Yet, those moments often lead to growth. Cardone shares how, early in his career, he avoided big deals because they intimidated him. He would stick to smaller, safer transactions. The problem was, the smaller deals did not change his life. Eventually, he realized that the deals that scared him were the ones that could move the needle. So, he started saying yes to opportunities that made him uncomfortable: larger investments, bigger clients, and more public speaking engagements. Each time, the fear faded, and his confidence grew. Fear is a sign that you are stretching yourself. If you only operate in spaces where you feel completely safe, you will stay in the same place. Cardone argues that most people let fear paralyze them, but high performers use fear as fuel. Look at Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group. He has launched airlines, record labels, space companies, industries far outside his original expertise. Branson admits that he often feels fear when entering a new market, but he uses that fear to prepare, learn, and move forward boldly. His willingness to take risks has turned Virgin into a global brand. But risk is not the same as recklessness. Cardone is not telling you to gamble blindly. The 10x approach is about taking calculated risks big enough to scare you, but backed by preparation, research, and massive action. For example, Cardone once invested millions into a real estate project that stretched him financially. He was nervous, but he had done his homework, he studied the market, understood the demand, and had a plan for execution. It was a big risk, but a calculated one. The deal paid off massively, and it taught him that playing small was more dangerous in the long run than betting on himself. Here is something important: the cost of not taking risks is invisible but huge. When you avoid risks, you also avoid opportunities. You stay in jobs you do not love, you miss out on potential income, and you never find out what you are truly capable of. Cardone says that comfort is the enemy of greatness, and risk is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Take Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, again. She invested her own savings into developing her product because she believed in it. She faced rejection after rejection from manufacturers, but she kept going. That initial leap, risking her time, money, and reputation, turned into a billion-dollar brand. Fear is also tied to procrastination. Many people put off important actions not because they are lazy, but because they are afraid. They wait for the right time, a time when the risk will magically disappear. But that time never comes. Cardone insists that action must come before confidence. You do not wait until you are fearless to act, you act, and that is how you become fearless. One of his personal strategies is to commit first and figure out the details later. This forces you to act before your fear talks you out of it. If you wait until you feel fully ready, you will miss your chance. Fear also shrinks when you surround yourself with people who play big. If everyone around you is playing small, their comfort zone becomes your normal. But if you spend time with high achievers who are constantly taking risks, their mindset rubs off on you. You start to see big moves as normal. Think about the early days of Silicon Valley. Entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Larry Page were all taking bold, risky actions, leaving college, starting companies in garages, challenging massive corporations. In that environment, risk-taking was not just accepted, it was expected. Cardone's advice is to reframe fear into excitement. Physiologically, fear and excitement feel similar. Your heart races, your breath quickens, your mind sharpens. The difference is in the story you tell yourself. Instead of saying, "I am scared," say, "I am excited." That shift can turn paralyzing fear into forward motion. Part 7 ends with a challenge: make fear your green light. When something makes you nervous, lean into it instead of backing away. Say yes to the big deal, make the uncomfortable call, launch the bold idea. Prepare, plan, and then move fast. In the 10x mindset, fear means you are on the right track. Risk is not something to be avoided but embraced strategically. And when you push through fear consistently, you build a new identity, someone who does not just dream big but acts big. The people who change their lives, their industries, and sometimes even the world are not the ones who avoided fear and risk. They are the ones who saw fear as a sign to go forward and risk as the price of greatness. So, the next time you feel fear, remember Grant Cardone's words: let it be your signal, not your stop. Because on the other side of that fear might be the life you have been chasing all along. We have reached the end of the 10x rule by Grant Cardone. But this is not the kind of book you simply finish and place back on the shelf. This is a call to action, a challenge to live bigger, push harder, and demand more from yourself than you ever thought possible. Throughout this journey, we have explored how thinking at normal levels produces normal results, and how multiplying your efforts and ambitions by 10 can completely transform your life. You have seen that success is not an accident, it is the result of massive action, relentless persistence, and an unwillingness to settle for less. Grant Cardone reminds us that there is no safety in playing small. Playing it safe may feel comfortable, but it is also the surest way to limit your potential. The real danger lies in doing too little, setting goals that are too small, and taking actions that are too timid. We have talked about fear, and how it is not a sign to stop but a green light to keep going. We have talked about risk, and how it is the price of greatness. We have seen that failure is not the end but part of the process, and that excuses are simply stories we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. The truth is, the 10x life is available to anyone. It does not matter where you start. What matters is your willingness to aim higher than you think is reasonable, to take more action than you believe is necessary, and to persist longer than anyone else would. Let us make this practical. As you finish listening to this, think about one area of your life. Maybe it is your career, your business, your health, or your relationships. Ask yourself, what would my goal look like if I multiplied it by 10? And then, what would my action plan look like if I multiplied my efforts by 10? When you apply this mindset, you stop waiting for perfect circumstances. You stop letting fear dictate your moves. You stop measuring your goals by what is realistic and start measuring them by what excites and challenges you. Grant Cardone's own story proves this works. From being broke and struggling, he built a multi-million-dollar empire not by playing safe but by consistently showing up, working harder than everyone else, and never lowering his targets. He created opportunities instead of waiting for them. And you can too. The choice is yours. You can keep operating at average levels, doing what feels comfortable, and getting predictable results. Or you can commit to the 10x rule, thinking and acting so massively that your life starts to expand in ways you could not have imagined. As we close this audiobook, remember this: success is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of commitment, effort, and action. You are capable of more than you think. You are capable of building a life that excites you every single day. So go out there. Set the goal that scares you. Take the action that stretches you. Live by the 10x rule, and watch how fast your world changes. This is Books Arena, and I will see you in the next audiobook journey. Until then, think big, act bigger, and never settle for anything less than extraordinary. There is a quiet magic in the early hours of the morning. The streets are still, the world is calm, and there is a sense that you have the whole day ahead of you untouched, full of possibility. Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club is built on this very idea, that waking up at 5 in the morning can transform your life in ways you never imagined. This is not just about getting up early for the sake of it. It is about creating a daily ritual that sets you ahead of the rest of the world before the world has even begun. Sharma tells the story through a fable about an artist and an entrepreneur who meet an eccentric billionaire. This billionaire is not flashy or arrogant, but wise and deeply intentional in how he lives his life. He invites them on a journey to learn his most important lesson: how to master their mornings to elevate their lives. At first, the idea of waking up at 5 a.m. sounds almost cruel to them. Why would anyone willingly leave a warm bed so early? But as the story unfolds, they begin to see that those quiet hours hold the power to shape the rest of their day and ultimately, the rest of their lives. The concept is simple: the way you start your day determines how you live your day. And the way you live your days determines the quality of your life. At 5 a.m., there are no phone calls, no emails, no distractions. It is the perfect time to focus on the things that matter most: your health, your growth, your goals, and your inner peace. Sharma calls it the victory hour, and he breaks it down into the 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes for movement, 20 minutes for reflection, and 20 minutes for learning. It sounds simple, but when done consistently, it can lead to extraordinary results. In this book, you will hear how the artist and the entrepreneur's lives change as they embrace this habit. You will see how they overcome resistance, find discipline, and begin to create mornings that fuel their bodies, sharpen their minds, and strengthen their spirits. The 5 a.m. Club is not about being a morning person by nature, it is about becoming one by choice. It is about understanding that greatness is less about talent and more about habits. And one of the most life-changing habits you can adopt is to claim the first hour of your day for yourself before the world claims it for its demands. So, in this journey, let us walk alongside these characters as they travel to breathtaking places, meet fascinating people, and learn timeless lessons about productivity, creativity, and personal mastery, all rooted in the power of the early morning. This is the 5 a.m. Club, and your invitation to rise before the sun, to own your morning, and to elevate your life. The story begins at a leadership conference. The room is filled with people looking for answers: leaders, professionals, creatives, all hoping for that one idea that will help them break through the noise and take their lives to the next level. Among them are two strangers who could not be more different. One is an artist. She is talented, but she feels stuck. Her creativity has been drying up, and she is doubting whether she is truly cut out for the life she dreamed of. The other is an entrepreneur, sharp, ambitious, but worn down by stress. His company is struggling, and so is his health. Both of them have reached a point where they know something has to change, but they are not sure what. As they sit in the audience, the conference's keynote speaker takes the stage. He is magnetic, confident, and full of insights about leadership and success. But in the middle of his talk, something unexpected happens. An older man sitting in the front row raises his hand and begins to speak. At first, people think he is just another attendee. But his words carry a weight and a clarity that captures everyone's attention. He speaks about the importance of owning your morning. He talks about how the quiet hours before the world wakes up are when the greatest minds and leaders do their best thinking. He calls it the victory hour, the most important 60 minutes of your day. And then he says something that makes everyone in the room pause. If you win the morning, you win the day. And if you win the day, you can win your life. The artist and the entrepreneur are intrigued. This man is not on the official schedule, yet his presence is commanding. Later, they find out he is not just any man, he is a billionaire. But he did not get there by working himself into the ground. Instead, he built his fortune while living a life of balance, freedom, and meaning. And his biggest secret? The 5 a.m. habit. The billionaire invites them to join him on a journey. He promises to teach them the strategies that transformed his life, strategies that go far beyond waking up early. At first, they hesitate. The idea of seeing the sun rise on purpose feels almost ridiculous to them. But there is something about his confidence, his calm energy, that makes them say yes. The next morning, the alarm clock feels cruel. At 4:45 a.m., the world outside is dark and silent. The artist wants to pull the blanket over her head. The entrepreneur is tempted to hit the snooze button. But curiosity and maybe a little pride pushes them out of bed. When they meet the billionaire, he leads them outside into the cool morning air. The sky is still black, but slowly, the first streaks of light begin to appear. He tells them to listen, really listen to the silence. In this hour, there are no demands, no notifications, no noise from the world. Just space. Space to think, to move, to plan, to grow. As the sun rises, the billionaire begins to share his philosophy. He explains that the first hour of the day is the golden hour for self-mastery. It is when you strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and nourish your soul. He promises to teach them his 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes for intense movement, 20 minutes for deep reflection, and 20 minutes for focused learning. He smiles and says, this habit will feel hard at first. Your bed will try to trap you. Your mind will give you excuses. But if you can push through the first few weeks, you will begin to see changes that will amaze you. Your energy will grow. Your focus will sharpen. And you will feel more alive than you have in years. The artist and the entrepreneur do not know it yet, but this early morning in the dark will mark the beginning of a transformation that will touch every part of their lives. The next morning, the artist and the entrepreneur meet the billionaire again, this time in a quiet cafe that seems to exist outside of time. The air smells of fresh coffee, and the soft music in the background is almost hypnotic. The billionaire sits at a small corner table, sipping tea, his eyes bright with energy despite the early hour. You are here, he says with a smile. Most people would have chosen their pillow over this moment. But you have already made a different choice. And the choices you make daily create the life you live. The entrepreneur, still rubbing his eyes, asks the question that has been bothering him. Why 5 a.m.? Why not 6 or 7? The billionaire leans forward. Because at 5 a.m., the world is asleep. There are no demands on your time, no distractions. It is a time when you can focus fully on yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit before the chaos of the day arrives. If you give the first hour to yourself, you will be stronger for the remaining 23. He takes out a notebook and writes 3 words, victory hour. This is the foundation, he says. And here's how it works: the 20/20/20 formula. He explains the first 20 minutes, move. Physical activity first thing in the morning increases your dopamine, lowers your cortisol, and wakes up your brain. He tells them about his own routine: a quick run, push-ups, stretching. It is not about being perfect, he says. It is about signaling to your body that it is time to wake up and win. The artist laughs. So you want me to sweat before the sun even comes up? Yes, he replies. Because it will change your state instantly. And when your state changes, your thoughts change. And when your thoughts change, your life changes. The second 20 minutes, reflect. Journaling, meditating, visualizing. This is the time to set your intentions for the day. Ask yourself, who do I want to be today? What really matters right now? Do not just react to life, design it. He shares a story of a CEO he once coached, a man constantly overwhelmed by decisions. When this CEO started journaling at 5 a.m., his clarity skyrocketed. He stopped chasing distractions and started focusing on the few actions that created the biggest results. The last 20 minutes, grow. Read a book. Listen to a podcast. Study something new. Your income will never exceed your learning, the billionaire says. Every morning is a chance to get a little smarter, a little wiser. Compound that over years, and you will be unstoppable. The entrepreneur nods slowly. He realizes he has been spending his mornings scrolling through emails and social media, filling his mind with noise instead of knowledge. The billionaire finishes his tea and leans back. Most people think success is about working harder during the day. But the truth is, success is about what you do before the day even starts. This hour is where you build the strength, the focus, and the creativity to dominate the rest of the day. Before they leave, he gives them one last piece of advice: guard this hour like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. The artist and the entrepreneur step back into the early morning air. The city is just starting to wake. Car engines hum in the distance, shopkeepers lift their shutters, and a pale golden light spreads across the sky. For the first time in a long time, they feel like they are ahead, not just ahead of their schedule, but ahead of themselves from yesterday. And somewhere deep down, they both sense that if they keep going, they might just change everything. By the third day, the artist and the entrepreneur have begun to feel the subtle effects of waking at 5 a.m., though it is not always easy. Their bodies resist, their minds grumble, and for a few moments each morning, the comfort of their bed seems irresistible. But each time they push through, they notice something shifting, a sense of control, a clarity that was missing before. The billionaire explains why consistency is the secret. The early hours alone are powerful, he says, but power without habit fades quickly. Your life changes not in a day, but in the compound effect of repeated actions. He tells them a story from his own youth, when he struggled with laziness and indecision. By committing to small, disciplined actions every morning, he transformed not just his productivity but his identity. He was no longer someone who tried to succeed, he became someone who naturally succeeded. He introduces a new idea: the four interior empires: mindset, heartset, healthset, and soulset. Many people focus only on their skills or knowledge, but true mastery requires balance across all four. Mindset is about clarity of thought and focus. The morning hour helps sharpen the mind because it is free from distractions. The artist notices that as she writes her journal each morning, ideas flow more freely. What used to feel like a struggle to create now comes naturally. Heartset is about emotional intelligence. The billionaire tells them, if your heart is heavy, your mind cannot function well. Your emotions control your energy. By reflecting and journaling, they are learning to process feelings, forgive past mistakes, and approach the day with gratitude and intention. Healthset is the physical component. Moving first thing in the morning is not just about exercise, it is about signaling to your body that you value it. The entrepreneur admits that before this, he would often skip breakfast, rush to work, and feel drained by mid-morning. Now, 20 minutes of movement leaves him energized and alert. Soulset is about purpose and connection. The billionaire asks them to visualize the life they want, to imagine the impact they hope to leave. This is not daydreaming, it is deliberate planning and aligning actions with values. The artist feels a sense of calm and direction she has not felt in years, realizing that her creativity can serve a bigger purpose. The billionaire emphasizes that these four empires are interconnected. A weak heartset undermines your mindset. Poor health weakens your soulset. Mastery comes when all four are nurtured daily. The 5 a.m. ritual is the launchpad, the time when each empire gets attention before the chaos of the day sets in. He also warns them about the distractions of mediocrity. Most people drift through their days, reacting to what others demand, surrendering their mornings to the digital noise of social media, emails, and unimportant tasks. The early riser, however, owns the first part of their day and, by extension, their life. The entrepreneur starts to see patterns in his own life. He recognizes how he had been chasing urgent tasks instead of important ones. The artist sees how she had been waiting for inspiration instead of creating it. The billionaire's guidance is slowly transforming not just their mornings but their way of thinking. As they leave the cafe, the sunrise is breathtaking. The city streets are quiet, the air is crisp, and the light seems to promise new beginnings. They are learning that waking at 5 a.m. is not punishment, it is privilege. It is the gift of uninterrupted time to build themselves before life tries to pull them apart. By the end of part 3, the lesson is clear: mastery begins in the morning, but it is built through consistent practice. Discipline overcomes comfort. Awareness overcomes distraction. And the quiet victory of the early hour sets the stage for extraordinary days and, ultimately, extraordinary lives. By the fourth day, the artist and the entrepreneur are beginning to feel the power of their new routine. Waking up at 5 a.m. is still challenging, but the rewards are becoming undeniable. They notice a shift in how they approach their work, their creativity, and their relationships. The mornings are no longer just about being awake, they are about being alive in a new way. The billionaire introduces a crucial concept: the twin cycles of elite performance. He explains that high achievers operate in two cycles: intense focus and deep recovery. Most people believe that working harder and longer leads to success. But the reality, he says, is that without rest, recovery, and reflection, performance diminishes. Your mornings are your sacred time, he tells them. But so is your recovery. If you want to perform at your peak, you must balance high intensity with restorative practices. He shares how elite athletes, world-class musicians, and top entrepreneurs all adhere to this principle. They train hard, but they also rest hard. They practice deliberately, but they also recharge deliberately. For the artist and the entrepreneur, this is a revelation. The entrepreneur recalls how he used to stay up late answering emails, sacrificing sleep for work. The artist remembers nights of endless scrolling and distraction, thinking she was being productive. Both realize they have been burning their energy without replenishing it, which stunted their creativity and clarity. The billionaire then brings them back to the victory hour. He emphasizes that movement, reflection, and growth are not just activities, they are rituals that tune the mind, heart, body, and soul. He explains that these rituals, when practiced consistently, create a compounding effect. A single morning may feel small, but over weeks, months, and years, the difference is monumental. He shares a story about a young writer he once coached. This writer was struggling with procrastination and self-doubt. By committing to the 5 a.m. routine, the writer began each day with intention and clarity. Within 6 months, she had completed her first novel. Within a year, she had transformed her self-confidence and her daily productivity. The billionaire stresses that it is not talent alone that creates results, it is the habit of disciplined, purposeful mornings. The entrepreneur and the artist also begin to notice subtle changes in themselves. They are calmer during stressful situations. Their focus has improved. Even small challenges at work or in life no longer feel overwhelming. By investing the first hour of the day in themselves, they are better prepared for everything that comes after. The billionaire adds another layer: environment shapes habits. If you want to wake up early consistently, you must prepare the night before. He encourages them to create an environment that supports their morning victory: sleep early, avoid screens before bed, and set out everything needed for the morning routine. Small adjustments, he says, make the habit almost effortless. Finally, he challenges them to think beyond themselves. The victory hour is not just about personal gain, it is about creating the capacity to contribute more to the world. When your mind is sharp, your heart is centered, and your energy is high, you can give your best to your work, your family, and your community. As they step outside into the soft morning light, both the artist and the entrepreneur feel a sense of purpose they have never experienced. The city is waking up, but for the first time, they feel they are ahead of the day, in control, and ready to create. Part 4 teaches a vital lesson: true mastery is not just about doing more, it is about doing better. It is about balancing focus with recovery, intention with action, and self-care with contribution. The morning is not just an hour, it is the launchpad for a life of excellence. As the days progress, the artist and the entrepreneur begin to notice that their mornings are no longer just routines, they are transformations. The 5 a.m. ritual is shaping not only their productivity but their mindset, their creativity, and even their sense of self-worth. They are learning that how they start the day sets the tone for everything that follows. The billionaire introduces them to another essential idea, the habit installation protocol. He explains that building a new habit is not about willpower alone. It is a carefully timed process that involves pushing through resistance, repetition, and reinforcement. He tells them that the first 20 days are brutal. Their minds will fight against the change, their bodies will crave comfort, and doubt will whisper that it is not worth the effort. But then comes the second phase, from day 21 to day 40, the second resistance. The habit begins to form, yet old behaviors sneak in. The artist feels tempted to skip her morning run after a long night of work. The entrepreneur struggles with checking emails first thing, feeling the pull of his old routines. The billionaire reminds them that consistency is key. It is the repeated act, even when inconvenient, that solidifies the habit. By the 41st day, something remarkable begins to happen. The habit becomes automatic. The victory hour is no longer a struggle, it is a source of energy and clarity. They wake up not because they have to, but because they want to. The artist finds her creativity flowing in ways she never imagined, sketching and writing effortlessly. The entrepreneur notices that his decision-making is sharper, and he feels calmer under pressure. The billionaire shares a story from his own life. When he was building his empire, he committed to waking at 5 a.m. every day, no matter where he was in the world. Even during travel, even when exhausted, he adhered to the routine. Over years, the small daily victories compounded into enormous advantages, insights, opportunities, and a level of focus that others could not match. He emphasizes that these early hours are not just about getting ahead, they are about personal mastery. By dedicating time to your mind, body, and soul first, you create a life that is intentional rather than reactive. You stop letting the world dictate your priorities and begin dictating them yourself. The billionaire then challenges them to think about the 4 interior empires again: mindset, heartset, healthset, and soulset. These are not separate areas, they interact and reinforce one another. A strong mind without a strong body falters. A motivated heart without purpose drifts. Nourishing each empire daily during the early morning hours creates balance and resilience. For the artist, the focus on her interior empires awakens a deeper sense of confidence. She realizes that her fear of failure had been holding her back, but now, with clarity and energy, she can take bold steps in her career. For the entrepreneur, the routine strengthens discipline and mental clarity, allowing him to make better strategic decisions for his company. The billionaire concludes part 5 with a reminder that time is the ultimate currency. Every early morning is an investment in the life they want to live. The hours before the world wakes up are sacred because they are free from interruptions and influence. How they spend this time determines their potential, not just for today, but for the years ahead. By the end of this part, the lesson is clear: waking up early is not a punishment or a chore. It is a strategic advantage. It is the foundation for extraordinary performance, creativity, and fulfillment. The victory hour is where ordinary days transform into extraordinary lives. By the 6th day, the artist and the entrepreneur are no longer just experimenting with the 5 a.m. routine, they are beginning to embody it. The mornings feel different now. There is a quiet confidence that grows with each sunrise. They notice that challenges during the day feel less overwhelming, decisions are made with clarity, and creativity flows naturally. The billionaire introduces them to the concept of the 90/90/1 rule. He explains, for the next 90 days, spend the first 90 minutes of your workday focused on the single most important project that will move your life forward. Nothing else. No emails, no meetings, no distractions. Give it your full energy and attention. The entrepreneur reflects on his work and realizes how much time he wastes reacting to others' demands instead of focusing on what truly matters. The artist sees the same pattern in her creative projects. Days filled with minor tasks leave little energy for meaningful work. The billionaire emphasizes that this focused time, combined with the victory hour, creates a compounding effect. Small, consistent investments in the right work produce extraordinary results over time. Next, he speaks about the second wind, a mental state achieved through the early morning ritual that allows you to sustain energy throughout the day. Many people struggle with fatigue because their mornings are reactive, filled with stress and distraction. But by exercising, reflecting, and learning during the first hour, the body and mind are energized, creating momentum that lasts far beyond the morning. The artist notices that she can now complete tasks in the first half of the day that would have previously taken the entire day. The entrepreneur finds that problem solving comes easier, and he approaches meetings and negotiations with a calm, focused mind. Both feel a sense of mastery they had never experienced before. The billionaire also introduces mindset conditioning during the victory hour. He teaches them to use visualization, affirmations, and journaling to program their minds for success. What you see in your mind each morning shapes what happens in your life, he says. If you visualize clarity, courage, and creativity, your actions will follow. He shares the story of an Olympic athlete who visualized every movement of her routine each morning before training. By the time she physically performed, her body had already internalized perfection. The same principle applies to life and work. By conditioning the mind early, you prepare yourself to execute with excellence. The billionaire reminds them that consistency beats intensity. You do not need to push yourself to extremes, the key is showing up every day, even when it feels difficult. The habit compounds silently, strengthening your mind, body, and soul. Over months, the transformation becomes undeniable. By the end of part 6, the artist and entrepreneur feel unstoppable. They understand that waking up early is not just about getting ahead of the day, it is about creating the life they truly want. They are building resilience, focus, and energy that touches every aspect of their lives. The lesson of this part is clear: mastery, performance, and fulfillment are not about doing more during the day, but about starting the day right. The victory hour, combined with focused work, visualization, and consistent habits, gives them a foundation that is stronger than any external circumstance. As the journey reaches its 7th day, the artist and the entrepreneur have begun to feel a profound transformation. The 5 a.m. ritual is no longer a challenge or a task, it is a source of energy, clarity, and purpose that carries them throughout the day. They begin to understand the deeper lesson Robin Sharma is conveying, that small, consistent actions, taken before the world wakes, compound into extraordinary results over time. The billionaire emphasizes the importance of mastery over your life, not just your work. When you control your morning, he says, you control your mindset, your energy, and your focus. You set the trajectory of your entire day. And the trajectory of your days shapes your life. He reminds them of the 20/20/20 formula: 20 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of reflection, 20 minutes of growth, and points out how it has started to ripple into other areas. The artist notices her creativity is more vivid, she writes, sketches, and plans with clarity she never had before. The entrepreneur finds himself making decisions calmly, with a level of strategic thinking that surprises even his colleagues. The billionaire then shares the final key lesson, the habit of lifelong learning and growth. He explains that waking at 5 a.m. is not about short-term gains, it is about creating a lifelong habit of discipline, focus, and intentionality. Each morning, no matter where you are, you invest in yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Over years, these investments compound into the person you aspire to become. He tells them the story of several successful people he has mentored, leaders, artists, and entrepreneurs who attribute their achievements not to talent alone, but to the structure and discipline of their mornings. Those who rose early consistently outperformed those who worked harder but without structure. They had energy, clarity, and resilience that set them apart. The artist and entrepreneur realize that the 5 a.m. ritual is not about a fixed time on the clock, it is about claiming ownership of your life. It is about dedicating the first hour to what matters most before the distractions of the world take hold. This is the time to align with your purpose, sharpen your mind, and build habits that sustain success and fulfillment. As they watch the sun rise together, the billionaire smiles and says, "The world belongs to those who show up fully, every day." You now have the tools. Your mornings are yours. Guard them fiercely. They will transform your days, and in time, your life. The artist reflects on how far she has come. She feels a sense of freedom she never thought possible, the freedom to create, to focus, to grow. The entrepreneur feels the same, clarity, energy, and an inner calm that allows him to lead with confidence. Both understand that the small sacrifice of waking early yields rewards far beyond their expectations. Part 7 concludes with the understanding that extraordinary results are not achieved by luck or genius alone. They come from small, consistent, intentional actions. The 5 a.m. hour is the catalyst, the launchpad for living intentionally, performing at your best, and creating the life you truly desire. By embracing this habit, the artist and the entrepreneur have not only learned to win their mornings but also to win their lives. And for anyone listening, the message is simple: the world is still asleep when you rise. What you do in those early hours will define the trajectory of your life. As we come to the end of the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, it is clear that this book is more than a guide to waking up early. It is a roadmap to transforming your life. The story of the artist, the entrepreneur, and the wise billionaire teaches us that the first hour of the day is the most important, and how we use it can shape everything that follows. We have seen how dedicating the early morning to movement, reflection, and growth creates energy, clarity, and resilience. We have learned about the power of habit, consistency, and intentionality. The lessons are simple, yet profound. Waking early is not about being a morning person by nature, but about making a conscious choice to invest in yourself before the world demands your attention. Robin Sharma reminds us that extraordinary lives are built through small, consistent actions, repeated day after day. The 5 a.m. hour is the foundation upon which focus, creativity, and personal mastery are built. By claiming this time, you gain the clarity to pursue what truly matters, the energy to tackle challenges, and the mindset to keep growing. The story shows that it is not talent or luck that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, but the habits we cultivate. The artist and the entrepreneur's journey illustrates how discipline, focus, and intentional mornings lead to transformation in all areas of life: work, relationships, creativity, and health. For anyone listening on Books Arena, the message is simple: the world is still asleep when you rise. By taking ownership of your morning, you take ownership of your life. Every sunrise is an opportunity to start fresh, to align with your purpose, and to move closer to the person you aspire to become. Remember, the path is not always easy. Your bed will tempt you, your mind will make excuses, and the world will pull you in countless directions. But if you commit to this practice, even for a few weeks, you will feel the difference. Energy, focus, and clarity will become your companions, guiding you toward extraordinary days and an extraordinary life. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the 5 a.m. Club here on Books Arena. Take these lessons to heart, rise before the world, and watch as your mornings and your life transform into something remarkable.